let's just take this quite literally, okay? As though we are a logically sound 6-year-old. How does that harm a single woman? Not allowing biological males in women's sports. Yesterday, and this is where we're getting to, Title IX, and this is one of those situations that in the future, historians will look back and say, what? Because no one will understand why this was necessary. So yesterday, on National Girls and Women's Sports Day, President Trump signed the titled Keeping Men Out of Women's Sports executive order.
Under the Trump administration, we will defend the proud tradition of female athletes, and we will not allow men to beat up, injure, and cheat our women and our girls. From now on, women's sports will be only for women.
Good.
I want to make this a really good signature, because this is a big one, right?
What a misogynist.
Yes. Watch this. Watch this.
Oh, I think we have a 10. We have a 10.
God bless you, Mr. President.
And not one of those little girls was sniffed or fondled.
Hey! New day.
Baby steps.
In the White House.
So
An executive order, by the way, that we never thought we'd ever actually
we never
have
thought
to
we would
have.
ever, yeah.
Seriously, what?
I mean, historians will look back and go, yeah, this executive order, and the student will say, wait, what was that?
Keeping men?
There had to be an executive order to keep men out of women's sports, and this was signed on International Women's Sports Day? That happened. This isn't, you're not pulling my leg? Yeah. There was a period of about 5 to 8 years where there were 57 genders, and then we went back to 2. So
It's better.
I've been talking about this for quite a while. And yeah, Title IX has all kinds of problems. But let me fill you in on what initially was meant to be, how the left has eroded women's rights, and what we're seeing now. Because this is a fundamental shift, and this is what the left sees as a violation of human rights. I don't think they have a grasp at all on what human rights are. So Title IX was designed to prevent sex-based discrimination in education, and specifically activities that would be receiving federal funding. So areas like athletics, recruitment, admissions, and there was kind of a broad umbrella, which we'll get to, got broadened as it related to sexual harassment. It was for women. Right? It was designed for women. You can look at RBG, watch that documentary. It was very important to the women's movement. And then it became about intersectionality, and obfuscation was always the goal of the left on this, which is why right now they're freaking out.
Trump just signed another executive order attacking trans people of all ages in sports.
The bans aren't about transgender participation. This isn't about saving women's sports or protecting girls and women in sports.
This is part of a whole
literally
program
about protecting women in
to
sports.
essentially erase transgender Americans from American life.
The executive order titled Keeping Men Out of Women's Sports deliberately misgenders trans women through the language.
The new president of the United States articulate complete, utter nonsense and doing complete harm to the most vulnerable communities in his own society.
Let's just take this quite literally, okay? As though we are a logically sound 6-year-old. How does that harm a single woman? Not allowing biological males in women's sports. Can anyone give me that? I've done, I don't know, half a dozen change my minds on this.
We don't have to face the adversity of losing.
Yes. Aside, I've not gotten one legitimate case. Not one.
No.
Not one legitimate argument that even approaches something that resembles convincing. This is about erasing transgender people.
No, they can compete in men's sports, can't they?
They can compete in any sports. They can compete in any sports with their biological sex.
Yeah.
Go for it. How are we erasing genuine question to you. What does that mean, erasing them? We're revoking their citizenship? We're deporting them for being trans? They're not allowed to be in public spaces, period. They're not allowed to exist. We're simply talking, it's very comparable to weight classes and entirely as appropriate. So one person who was not having any of this as it relates to the games, and this is where it came to a crescendo yesterday, was none other than Nancy Mace.
The gentlelady has used a phrase that is considered a slur
in the LGBTQ community and the transgender community. And let me please finish without interruption. And
Tranny. I don't really care. You want penises in women's bathrooms, and I'm not going to have it.
Okay.
No, thank you.
Let Chairman.
Disgusting.
Now, whether you agree with her method or not, I think she got the point across.
Well, she's got to be more careful. You say it 3 times and one might appear.
Well, no, come on. That's I understand. That's an urban legend. That's watch. See,
well, it's kind of the
it's
rules,
not actually
but I mean, you make a good point. But oh God!
What? Oh, Katie! Get out of here, Katie! Hey, go! Can I have my bees back? No, you can't have your bees.
Get! Don't get!
We never loved you anyway.
Oh God, I had a hot flash.
Sorry, I didn't lock the door.
Yeah, jeez. Or the mirrors.
I think you'll second guess that one.
So Title IX, what it was designed to be, Obama, Biden, where we are now, brings us to this week's installment of Then and Now. I got a blood blister on my hand from squeezing that fire extinguisher.
Did you really?
Yeah, squeeze it really, really hard. Huh. All right.
Really
Well,
afraid
it was scary.
It was quite scary. It's the adrenaline. I didn't feel it because of the adrenaline dump, but now.
You're good.
All right.
You going to be okay?
I think I'm going to be fine. So we gave you the basis of Title IX. Let's go back to then. Some alterations that were made with Title IX. Barack Obama, 2011. This administration, Barack Obama's, lowered the standard of evidence to find students liable for sexual assault. That was a big change. We lived through it. Mattress Girl was an example of that. She was never actually raped. There were a bunch of rape hoaxes that had taken place and men's lives irreparably destroyed. In 2016, it changed. It was modified to require schools to treat trans students consistent now with gender identity. So that means bathrooms, that means housing, that included sports. So it no longer had anything to do with sex, which was the basis of Title IX. Now it's gender identity, which was pretty much made up within 2 years of that taking place. That brings us to another, then again, the Biden administration, they reinstated the trans protections, which were rescinded in Donald Trump's first term. They expanded harassment to include misgendering.
What?
So we went from harassment to mean something. It meant, hey, deliberately using your words or approaching someone in a way to make them feel uncomfortable, to make them feel accosted, to saying something that a woman doesn't like, to then saying something that somebody who claims to be a woman, even if they have cock and balls, doesn't like. You see the slippery slope? It's not a fallacy in this case. They also implemented what was known as the single investigator model, which means that the same person would investigate sexual harassment or discrimination claim, which includes misgendering someone, and the same person acts as a decision maker in determining violations and recommending sanctions. Imagine you get the wrong one.
I imagine they're all the wrong one.
Yes.
I imagine there's someone putting them into positions that has an agenda.
Exactly. Imagine you say, sir, I mean, ma'am, boom. One person decides that is sexual harassment. And we have cases of this, and you're out. You don't get to graduate. That brings us to now, which is why this executive order is appropriate. So this is something, and of course, but Donald Trump's executive order has implemented a 2 genders policy. That is the definition. Okay, that is where we are going. That is how we are moving forward. It empowers the Secretary of State to see that these international sports bodies, not just us here, enshrines these protections along with our sports, anyone competing. So this would include the International Olympic Committee. Mitt Romney just soiled his pants. And it rescinds any federal funding. Well, he speaks French, the IOC. Right. And he was like, oh, there's a parle français, yes, Olympique. And this EO rescinds any funding to institutions that don't comply with it.
Good.
The fact that we have had to go through this saga is scary. It does defy logic. But I will tell you this, the fact that we have gone through it, I think probably strengthens the idea that this pendulum has swung the other way. I think enough people have seen this and said, yeah, okay, we actually probably need some protections for biological women. People are far less concerned with hurting feelings than they are now with actually hurting women. So we're going to keep men out of women's sports and
some men?
I guess trannies in women's sports. Oh, bye.
So take your testicles and dead names seems like Kyle. It's not a question, there's a bulge between your thighs. Completely predictable to anyone with eyes. Trump's getting things set right with Title IX.
That was great.
Well done.
Hey, if you like this video, you can comment below. We always appreciate your feedback. Or click one of these, which will be similar as far as rebuttals, claims, truth. Maybe it changed my mind. Or sometimes we talk about the difference between men and women, how dogs are different from cats, airline food. No punchline, just premises, because this is the internet in the 21st damn century.